everyone. Welcome to Black Roses Garden Community Radio at Home. Tonight is a special broadcast, okay? I wanted to talk about the fight for justice of our murdered. And joining me tonight will be Miss Forlesia Cook. We will be speaking on the murder of her grandson, 22-year-old Marty William McMillan Jr., who was brutally murdered back in 2017. His case started off as a missing person case, and he was later found 9 months later along Suitland Parkway. Like I said, joining me tonight would be his grandmother, Miss Forlesia Cook. And we're going to talk about this fight for justice because her fight has not ended. And she still fights for justice for her grandson. And there's a lot of families that's suffering through this type of thing right now, especially during the pandemic, and I wanted her to explain to some of the families the things that she has had to face, during her fight for justice for her grandson. So I'm going to invite a few people in. I'm going to wait until she joins me. I just invited her in. And we're going to get started. Hey, sister. And then we're going to get started. I'm going to, I know it's Black History Month, and, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to Black history, but I want to showcase these families of the missing and murdered because that is my advocacy. And that I made a promise to these families to continue to share their stories. Miss Cook's grandson's story, Marty William McMillan Jr., has been, oh my God, it's a very heartbreaking story, and it's one that when I'm speaking to large crowds and I'm speaking to people, I speak on that story because it hits home. It hits home. I saw the things that she went through, and I went with her, to retrieve her grandson's car after he was murdered. She's still fighting for justice. She's in the fight for justice. So we're going to get her on. Hopefully everything is going to work out right with this. I don't see why it shouldn't. Okay. Hello, Grandma. How are you?
You see me?
Yes, I can see you. How are you
Sorry,
doing?
y'all. I'm a mess.
No problem. We just being out
from home today.
This is not about a glamour fest or anything like that. This is about telling the stories of our missing and murdered. It's very important to keep these stories alive and to get the people out here who are experiencing this type of thing, to get them out in the fights and to explain to them, the struggle in fighting for justice for your murdered loved one. And you have a case, like I was telling them, that has always been heartbreaking to me. And every time I get around a large crowd of people, especially families who are experiencing this type of thing, I always tell your story. I always tell your story. So I want you to introduce yourself to the people. And I want you to tell them the story of your grandson and your fight for justice.
I'm Felicia. My name is Felicia, and I am Marty William McMillan's grandmother. And, I have told his story so many times, but, I advocate, and Rose has been a big help to me. First of all, let me give her thanks because she has been in Marty's corner since she heard about my case. And she kind of connected with me and asked, did I mind coming on her to her podcast and to tell Marty's story. And that was back when she was with Phil and at Focus Radio. And I went out there and told Marty, and she's been advocating for him ever since. And in evidence for 2 years. And we wanted to give it to one of his sisters. We know that's something that Marty would have wanted. And so we wanted to do that. And she went with me, and that was a horrific day. It was very painful. I had not seen that car since they came and got it for evidence. I bought him that car because Marty had been in and out of trouble. He was a trouble teen. He had issues. Get tired of drugs and alcohol at a young age, and that leads you into a world that you have no idea how to deal with. And of course, my daughter didn't know how to deal with that. My daughter is not a alcohol user, not like that. But she had experienced me being one, and her losing her mother for 2 years because I'm also a recovering addict, a crack addict. So I understand the disease of addiction and alcoholism. And, and I've been in my grandson's corner since day one. I put pictures out there showing him, y'all, because Marty was not born grown. He wasn't born grown. He had to grow up. He was my grandchild. He was my firstborn. He was, when I got my second year of recovery, he gave me a purpose and a meaning. When I felt like I didn't want to go on with life, I didn't want to go on with the world. Marty was born. He was born premature. My daughter had to lie in bed for 2 months to hold him because she could have lost him. And she laid in bed like, I think 2 or 3 months to hold him because he was almost born too early.
Wow.
And so, when he was born, he was in the incubator. He only weighed 3 pounds, So we was fortunate that he survived that and that he was born and he stayed here in the world with us, So, that kind of, I believe God sent Marty, to give me something to hold on to because I was sick of the world sermon. I don't know if you ever been there, but I was just sick of the world, right? And so, medicating my feelings with drugs and alcohol was my answer. For dealing with the world, and Marty was born, and he gave me a reason after 2 years of recovery to say, I want to stay here. I want to continue to go on with being sober, because when I saw that little baby in that incubator, and he gave me that little deep smile, he had these deep dimples, and the hair was all around his little face, and I stuck my little hand up in the incubator, and he grabbed my little finger. My finger was just bigger than his hand, he kind of grabbed onto that finger and smiled at me and them little dimples, and, I fell in love, and I was like, oh, I can't go out here and do this and that, the other, because I got to keep it straight for him. What? I got a meaning. I got a purpose, and he was it. So I put everything into that little baby, man, everything. Those pictures that I just put out there recently were pictures that I've been at in the house 20-something years, and I got them developed Saturday. And when I went there, they had lost them, and I was in there going off crying. They didn't understand what was going on, and I told them, I said, look, I need those pictures. That's all I have left of my murdered grandson, and I need to see what's in those pictures. And it was the trip that me and my fiance at that time took him to Walt Disney World when he was a little boy. And that's what those pictures were. And I put those pictures out there to show y'all in the world how much bonding I did with that baby and what that little boy meant to me. When my grandson, when he came a troubled teen, I had to step to the plate. That was the only time my daughter said, come and get your son. All the other times she was reminding me that it wasn't mine, it was hers.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, she said, whenever he would get to acting up, she didn't know what to do. She said, you need to come over here and get your son. I was like, oh, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. And that's the way it was in the courtrooms. And anytime he got in trouble, you know, I was in his corner. I was in his corner because I know that, you know, he was going through something and he needed to know. He needed to have somebody there that understood him, that wasn't beating him up, you know. That's why I tell parents, when your children have a problem, that's the one you need to gear to. You know, because there's something going on there, something emotional, something that they're feeling, something they're coping with, they don't know how to deal with, and you got to help them walk through it. You can't get frustrated with them, throw them out in the street and say, I'm done with you, I don't want to be bothered. It's easy to do that, but that's not the time. That's the time you're working with them, trying to figure out what you can do, talking to counselors and everything else, trying to get them some help. And I just had to put that out there for parents, you know, that may be going through that right now with your children, you know, because you see what happened with Marty, it can happen to you. And you don't want to have that guilt or that whatever that you'll go through in your mind if something happened to him, you know, thinking about, you know, could you have done something different? Should I have done something different? Yes, you should. Yes, you do. You know, and I did that with Marty. And Marty was getting himself together, and he got a little job, an apprenticeship, because he didn't have a lot of hope that things would work out for him. He was getting older. He was beginning to see the light of what Grandma has been talking to him about and trying to show him, and, you know, everything. And he was beginning to see that, you know, and he was beginning to, we was having these deep conversations at this dining room table where I'm sitting at. He's sitting right there on the left side of me over here, and not long before then, and shed some tears. I'm talking about, you know, how, you know, he didn't feel that, you know, he felt that he messed his life up so bad that he would never be straightened out. And I remember looking over at him, and I said to him, oh no, there's life after mess up. Let me tell you, look at Grandma. Look at Grandma's story. And he knew my story. He said, at one of my anniversaries, he was so proud of me. So proud of me, man. And I say, you know, no, Marty, your life is not over, baby. It's life after mess up, and it's gonna be all right. We're gonna get through this. And he got that position. He was so excited. He was so happy he got that position for the apprenticeship, man. Oh man, he had to be to work 5 o'clock in the morning downtown, man. He was working on building these big buildings they building down there. And he got an opportunity to apprenticeship. Oh, he was so excited. I was excited too. Whoa, I told you, didn't I tell you? Yeah, it's gonna be all right. He had worked so hard that when he got that, we was making sure, because he was like, Grandma, you know, I need transportation, because if they go other places, I need to be able to get there. I said, don't you worry about it. It's gonna happen. Grandma gonna make it happen.
I know that's right.
And that's why we got that car. And he was, oh man, it was such a surprise when I went to pick him up that day from the metro, because I was getting out my bed, carrying him downtown, and he'd work 5 o'clock in the morning. And Grandma was getting out that bed, we were riding downtown to 14th and L Street, Northwest, you know, and we was down there 5 and 4 o'clock in the morning. We were on ones on the road, but we was going, he was listening to his music, listening to my music, and we were just, you know, and life was looking up. And I had prayed for that day. I had prayed for that day. And you know, that Saturday, that Marty had worked that Saturday. He'd been working overtime. He found out he was getting overtime. He jumped all in it, man. He jumped all in it. Grandma found out about the overtime, you know. And I told him, I said, Marty, it's all right to go out. You know, I was working a little temp job, you know, because I lost my good government job, y'all. You know, and I had to keep moving though, you know, and so I was working for temp agencies, and they needed somebody to work all them crazy hours and things, and I was doing what I had to do. And that Saturday I called Marty, you know, and he had got off from work, and I said, "How you doing, baby?" and all that, and this and that. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of tired, but I'm all right." I said, "Well, Marty, you know what? You've been so busy working. You haven't been out nowhere. You haven't been doing nothing." I said, "It's okay if you go out and do a little something, you know." And he had got paid. He get paid every week, and he got paid for that overtime, you know. And
I know that's
I said,
right.
"Marty, it's okay to, you know, go out and have a good time." And he met that girl, named Shania. He met her online. And she told him she had her own place and all this, man. She was roommate with some people and all this stuff. And he went over there that night, and I guess they got together, whatever, and this boyfriend or whoever was her partner that she was living with, she lied to him about, came home. And there's no way out for my grandson. You know, he shot my baby. He shot my baby 7 times, y'all. And wrapped him up, you know, blanket or something, and took him out there shooting the parkway and threw him away like a piece of trash. She said nothing to let it happen, you know. It took us 6 months, man. My daughter did all the footwork. The investigators tried to save my grandson because he was 21. They wasn't even looking for him. He gave us 24 hours because it took us 3 days for us to come to the conclusion that something was wrong, because I kept going downstairs in the basement where he stayed with me, right? And he hadn't slept. He hadn't been down there. And I said, "Where is he at?" It was raining real hard. And I said, "I know he ain't at work because construction work don't work in this rain, I don't think." I said, "So even if he's at work, you know," then my mind said, "Oh Lord, you know, bought him that car. Hope he ain't go out there getting out with some niggas running around and messed up and scared to let me know." And I thought about that. I said, "Well, every time he ever messed up, he always called me and let me know, Grandma, I done messed up. I'm at jail, you know what,
That's
Marty,
one
what?"
thing, you know, that's one thing. That's one thing I try to tell law enforcement agencies when I sit down and speak with them. We know our children. Okay, we know that we know them. Okay, don't think that every damn Black household, you know, that have children, even older children. I have older children, and I can tell you where they are. You know, and I don't even live in the house with them, but I can tell you where they are because we talk all the time. They have routines. You know what I'm saying? And it's very important, you know, for them to start taking our leads on things, you know, when it comes to our missing loved ones. They need to start taking our leads on things. That's one of the biggest problems that I advocate when I'm talking to law enforcement. Yeah, yeah,
It's the laws they're up against. The laws and how it dictates to them and how they look at young Black men, especially troubled teens.
right.
When we called the detective and he finally came here, first thing he did was talk about my grandson's record. I mean, he got a stiff record. I looked at him, I said, "What the hell I got to do with it?" Right now, he is missing. I don't know what you're trying to insinuate, but the hell with that. I know that something is wrong.
Right.
They wouldn't listen to me. My daughter came up here, and every weekend, Friday, when she got off from work, she drove up here from North Carolina 9 hours and sit up all night long going through his things and everything she could find, calling all his friends, putting us all to work, had us all around the table, calling these numbers, asking people if they seen or heard from him. Marty had 4,000 friends out there on Facebook. And so we was trying to go through them and trying to figure out what kind of conversations that went on, trying to get in there through his passwords, track, all that. And she tracked it down, though. She tracked it down to Shania.
Right.
that he met and the last call that he made and the last person he spoke to.
Tell them about the incident, because the very next day after Marty was reported missing, his mom knocked on the door of the place.
It wasn't the next day. It was it took her about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to actually pin it down. But she pinned it down because my daughter was out there. She won't tell me everything she was doing. But some of the people that she was connected with, she would offer them money to talk.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I give you $20. She tell me this, give you $10. And they was communicating with her. And so she got this address from somebody. She jumped up and left out of here Rose. 12 o'clock at night. Okay. And I'm running behind her because I'm trying to figure out what the hell, where are you going? What are you doing? She want to hear that. She went outside and then she said, I got an address. And she went out there and somebody talked to her and told her, don't knock on that door. Don't go in there. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear it. But at least somebody knew and was communicating with her while she was driving over there. And sure enough, she knocked on that door. She knocked on the actual door that he had been murdered in. She knocked on that door. She found it all the way to there. I believe the spirit of her son led her there. Led her there.
Mm-hmm.
We were
a mother knows. A mother knows. A mother knows. A mother. Everything that it's a grandmother or a mother. A mother knows. They know.
All the information that we had, they still was not listening to us because they were saying this is not facts. So where are you getting this information from? And they tried to get her. She said, I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. You know, she just said, I'm just telling you, you need to investigate. You need to go and see what, you know, by the time they did that, Rose, Marty been missing for months.
Good God.
Laying out there decaying and disposing his body, decomposing. You don't know what it's like. My boy was beautiful. And a beautiful boy. To get back remains, to get back bones, man.
I'm so sorry.
I didn't have nobody.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have a body. We didn't have a body.
Yeah.
That beautiful boy. Animals and everything ate up on him out there, laying out there like that. They didn't bury him. He wasn't even under no dirt. He was out there laying in some old spread or something. Then they had to come back and put another detective on it, and then Commander Dickinson, I appreciate her. Because we was Mr. Henderson, and we was standing down there because she had called him and asked him to help us. And he didn't realize that Marty had been missing, still missing. He thought it had been found, so he felt guilty. Like I didn't know he was still missing, and he was just as shocked, you know, because he said, I thought this would have been over. I didn't know y'all was still going through this. And so he asked me, he said, what do you want to do? And I told him, I said, I want to rally. I want to do stuff. I need, you know. So we did. We had rallies and things down there in front of my Miss Wilson, and Commander Dickinson stepped to the plate. She did. And she felt bad because she knew the detectives didn't take this case serious. They wasn't even looking for him for 30 days. For 30 days, they did nothing. She assigned it to a new detective, and he begged Alisha almost to give him everything she had, and she was like, I'm not letting it go because y'all lose this. It's all I got. Find my baby, boy.
So sorry.
And finally, she said, "I'll tell you what. I'll tell you some things, and you go and check it out." And this second detective, he took the initiative to. But he interviewed Shania twice, and she said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know." He said, "Oh, you didn't talk to you never. We saw him on Plenty of Fish. He met you, whatever. You did. I don't know. I don't know." She laughed.
So sorry.
He said, I think something fishy with her. I'm gonna watch her." Finally, they got a subpoena to go into that apartment. And
How long? How long after Marty was missing did they get a subpoena to go into their apartment?
About 4 months or somewhere along in there. And it was a while. I might not have the time exactly right, but it wasn't like that. Nope. Because they had to get approval from the DA, from the grand jury people. Everything got to be approved, y'all. Listen to what I'm telling you. It's got to go through this one, to go through that one. Even if the detectives suspect, they got to get approval before they can move on anything.
And that's the truth. That's the truth.
So when they went in there, guess what they found? They had the cadaver dog. The dog said somebody died in here. Somebody was dead in here. Then the dog says, some blood is over here in the bedroom. And so they looks under the bed and they find this sheet. And the sheet has blood in it, and it's Marty's blood.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I just think about what my baby went through. We had that conversation, and he said to me, "Grandma, when you're trying to do right, this just when something happened." And I said, "No, Marty, no, baby. Only thing that happened now is you going up. And no, baby, you going up." Oh, God.
I'm so sorry.
He went up all right, but not on this earth. I live with this, y'all. And that's why I fight. Because something has to change with these laws. Until today, it will be 4 years, April the 23rd, that Marty was murdered.
That's right.
And we still have not got justice.
Still.
Marty did not get justice when he was missing. Hasn't got justice yet. Marty didn't deserve this. He wasn't a bad person like that. He wasn't out killing people and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he may have robbed somebody, but it wasn't black. I'll tell you that. Marty go out there when the white folks, and God forgive me, he shouldn't be robbed nobody, but he went for the rich.
And he was a kid. He was just finding his way.
Like I said, he got tired of with people.
He was a kid.
Running around, and he got tired of what these people rose when he was a young boy, because his father gave him a lot of freedom. And 9 years old, he run the neighborhood. These boys are twice his age, and they was corrupted. But he was ready. When he sit here and talked to me, and he got that job, Rose, he saw the light. He was working on turning that thing around. He was going to be an example to younger men, and eventually he would have seen that alcohol and drugs, you got to let that go. So many people don't even know they got a problem. They think, well, I'm young and I'll be all right, and I got this, and grandma, no. I was 32 years old when I got sober, y'all.
Right.
32. I was 32.
He was a young man. He was just finding his way.
A 30-year-old woman when I first started snorting cane and then smoking cane. And then I was 32 in recovery, just that fast. Because cocaine is a monster.
Yeah.
You know, alcohol, whatever, you know, but that cocaine, once you step into that arena, good God Almighty, you know, there's a whole nother level.
Whole nother laugh, yeah.
And I was 32.
Yeah.
You know, so I know. As long as, and that's when I was fighting with his disease, like I had to fight with mine. You know, but I understood it, and that's why my daughter and them let me, you know, because they didn't know how to. My daughter and them, they didn't know how to handle that, you know, because she don't know nothing about that. But I didn't give up on him. I said, no, I'm gonna walk with you. I don't know how far I gotta go, how long it's gonna take, but I'm not ever giving up on you. Never.
That's right.
I didn't. But they took my purpose. They took my boy from me.
I'm so sorry, Miss Cook. I'm sorry, Grandma.
Because the Commander Dickinson said at that point, standing in front of a municipal center, she said that they would no longer have to wait 24 hours
That's
before
right.
you can call and say your loved one's missing. If they belong home at 3:05, you call them at 3:06 and say your child is not.
That's right. I stress that. I can't stress that enough, because people had that misconstrued for so long that you had to wait to report your missing loved one. And you don't have to wait 24 hours to do that. And I can't stress that enough, because the first 3 hours are so critical. It's so critical. You know, so many things can happen in these cases in 3 hours, and so many things do happen in these cases. And when it comes to a missing person in 3 hours, they can be in a whole nother state. That's why it's important to share the stories. Don't just get stuck in sharing the stories in the hometown. You have to share it. You have to share it as far as you can get it. It's very important, because
you know how they stand up for so many things, that Black Lives Matter, and I don't mean no harm, but
that's
Black
right.
Lives, I wonder when Black Lives Matter gonna matter to Black people.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
It's not a police officer that killed my grandson. It was another Black person that killed my grandson, shot my grandson like they did, threw him outside like a piece of trash. You know, and didn't say nothing, and walked around and didn't bother them. They have no guilt, no remorse. I'm telling you, I sit in that courtroom and I watched that John McGray come in there, and he looked at me like I'm getting on his nerves. Okay. All right. That's the way they look at me, like, and Shania sit there like I'm too busy. I shouldn't even have to be here dealing with this. What? We're talking about my grandson's life. It takes God to move inside of me not to react. Okay, because I want to go off in that courtroom. I do. And I say to myself, what do I have to lose? I lost the most important thing in my life. I lose. Yeah. I ain't worried about no materials and all of that. I'm 64 years old. I live my life. What do I have to lose, man? That's just I'm trying to kill you. If they kill me, what do I have to lose, God?
Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
What you took from me, what you took from me, and you look at me like I'm the one wrong. Oh God, when I sit in that courtroom and I look at them and I hold on to my sanity, I know God is real, because I haven't reacted to this pain, man. What they did to my beautiful boy.
I'm so sorry.
And that bride here, man, don't even really want. He got another woman. She a sidekick. That's what she was. So what's your problem, man? You could have just let it go. Let it walk away. You know, she walking around like everything all right. She going over her life. Lord have mercy.
22-year-old young man. 22-year-old young man just starting off in life, got the greatest job the greatest job that a young person can have to start off with, you know, just that was the greatest job that a young person can have.
So he
Just
wasn't getting no
wanting to live his life.
opportunity.
Wanting to live his life. And I want to tell the people listening, you know, Marty met a young woman on Plenty of Fish, okay, on a dating website, okay, that is still up and running. You know, there have been so many different assaults, so many different people murdered, you know, from meeting different individuals. They don't do any background screening. They don't check these people out. You can put any type of picture up there, you know, and be a whole, you can be a serial killer. You can put a picture up of a movie star, and behind that picture be a serial killer. You know, these places they're not, you know, they don't do no background checks on the people who, you know, go on these lines and meet these people. It's been so many different murders, so many different assaults, rapes, you know, so many women. Year before last, because I haven't checked last year, but 2019, there had been 368 people raped and assaulted on that line, on that party line. And then it was like, after Marty's murder, it was so many different people getting murdered from meeting people on that line, till it was pathetic. And they still never closed this line down. They never closed it down. Nope. Today, you're fighting, you know, for justice. I know the last time we talked, you know, about his case, I know that, you know, 2020 in September was supposed to have been the start of the trial. But due to the pandemic and everything, they had offered to put a 12-year plea bargain on the table for the individual who is responsible for the murder of your grandson. Tell us about how all of that worked out.
They talked to us about it because we have been adamant about, first of all, getting into first-degree murder. We had to fight for that. They had second-degree. And so trying to get into the federal level, been fighting for that and get that in the District of Columbia. Listen, what I'm telling you about the District of Columbia.
Right.
Very minimum things are done to murderers. Murderers are getting away with murder, and then on top of that, they're getting minimum time and they're being released early because the people are fighting against that, talking about people wrongfully accused. When you go to a prison, I'm gonna tell you something, everybody in there is innocent. You ain't gonna have nobody come and tell you that they're guilty about a darn thing. Everybody's innocent, everybody, just about. The murderers sit up in there and they get together and they plot and they read law books and everything else and try to help with their own cases.
They have passed this law to start revisiting some of these. They passed this law to start revisiting some of these old cases. You know, tell me how you feel about that, because I have my friend, my sister of 35 years, and back in the 80s, her mom was murdered. She was shot on her way home, coming home from work, by an individual who was under the influence of PCP. First of all, he murdered his brother. He shot his brother, killed him, came outside, spoke to her mother on her way home from work, less than 50 feet from her house, okay, and then shot her mother in cold blood. Today, they are trying to release this man. They are considering releasing him due to the coronavirus.
We just stood up. Mr. Henderson had us to stand up downtown with front of Mary Bowser, and you know what? Only about 4 people came. I thought that's ridiculous. The lady that I stood with, I know you know her, I forget her name, over Southeast daughter was killed while she went to a memorial for somebody else, and was killed, and she just graduated from college or something like that, or whatever, she getting ready to go to college.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Beautiful young lady. I stood with her, Dana. That's Dina. I don't know her last name. She's advocated a lot. She has advocated a lot for her daughter. But anyway, they're talking about releasing these people, even though the heinous crime they have committed, they're going to release these people from jail early or whatever because they're a certain age or whatever. We stood down there, 5 people came. Mr. Henderson put the thing out. Mr. Henderson put the thing out asking people to come. 5 people came. I'm going to tell you, until we stand up to fight against these laws, we're just doing a lot of talking, and that's all we're doing. You know, and it takes more than one person. Okay, and we don't have the money. Most of us don't have the money. Like if I hit the mega million, something I'm trying, and I can give so many millions of dollars to a cause, then I'll get some recognition. Other than that, you know, I'm just a black lady, a nobody, trying to tell somebody to do something right. Okay, for us. Okay, and I'm African American. Okay. We are already addressing all that stuff out. We are being slighted. Even with this virus right there, you can see all that talk they're doing. We still not getting the shots, but the white folks are.
That's right.
I don't mean no harm to my white Caucasian friends out there. I'm speaking true facts now. Okay, so it just shows you that when we come together as Martin Luther King did, and that's the only reason we have the opportunities that we have. A lot of us forgot where we came from. Like we just jumped out here and all this stuff just happened when I was born. No, somebody made a sacrifice for you to get it.
That's right.
And Martin Luther King paid with his life, his life. And he brought people together, and people stood together and marched together and stood up and rallied and protested and kept going until they got what we have today. That's the same thing we're going to have to do with these laws when it comes down to our murdered loved ones. We cannot expect that it's just going to change. We got to act like we're really sincere and care about this and come together, all of us stand together and stand up for these lives that were brutally taken.
That's right.
What other way can we give our respect, give them the honor that, and whatever I can't find the word that we just should give them, okay, other than shooting balloons in the air and a memorial and talking about the tragic thing that happened to them. What can we do to make it change in the honor of them? You know, and that's the way I think about my grandson, you know, and I know that's what they would want us to do. You know, and we can't get justice for them, get something to change in the honor of them, you see? And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. That's why I have the slogan, no answers, no peace. Because if people don't have answers, they don't have peace. I walk the floor every night. And when Marty, for 6 months, I had to live like that. Go to work, try to function, because I just got another job. They hired me in the middle of all this going on, and I needed a job like that. Something with benefits and all that stuff, still that temp stuff. And I needed the job. So I had to take the job, but I had to go to work on a new job and learn what I had to do and try to perform professionally and keep a straight face during the whole time I didn't even know what my baby was. You understand? And I would walk the floor at night. I would have all kind of imaginations. My mind told me they threw him on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and will we ever find his body? And you know, he's probably in these woods. He's probably there. Every time I drive past somewhere secluded, I want to run in there and look for him and see if I can find him. Do you know how it is to try to look for your loved one's remains? Not looking for them, but looking for their remains, because I knew Marty was gone. And I tried to tell them that when they were talking about he was missing. Let me tell you something. Some of these people's loved ones are not missing. They're not missing. They're not missing. They're gone. They're gone. I knew my grandson was gone, and I tried to convince them of that, because depending on where they're gone or they're missing, depends on what kind of actions they take on your case. I'm going to tell you that, okay? On these missing cases, there's not a whole lot they can do. After they don't look around or whatever, they put flyers out. Okay, it's up to somebody to let them know something because they're not gonna ride around every day looking for your number.
No, they not. No, they not.
Okay,
And then
they got too many cases to spend all their time on your case. You ain't got it like that. None of us do. And so when you in there and you talking to these officers and these detectives, you know they got a file cabinet right by their desk, some of them. And they got files, and some of them got boxes. Just look behind their desk, they got boxes of folders. What do you think those folders are? You know, they're numbers. That's what all they are. Miss Bailey, I got with her, we stood together. Kendra Smith's mother that stood and fought for her, took her 14 years to get her killer brought to a charge. You know, and now she's still waiting on it because they still haven't gone to court yet either. She got the same prosecutor I got, you know, and she had to fight 15, it's been about 16 years now Kendra Smith was murdered, okay? And it took her that long to get some charges brought to that murder. And he lived right in her neighborhood and killed her daughter. Shot her daughter in the head, left her laying on a crate. You know, and all of that. So what I'm telling you, what I'm saying is, do y'all hear this? It don't seem like it's a lot until it happens to you. And the thing is, you don't want it to happen to you because you're not going to be no more cared about than we were unless you rich. You filthy rich, okay? And trying to buy justice, okay? Other than that, it's not going to happen. Or if you're another race that lives in an area where white people are treated with prestige. You see what I'm saying? Other than that, you just a black person just like us, in an area like us, you're going to get the same kind of treatment. I'm telling you, it's real. Think you different? You got a husband or something may work for the police department or with the detective or in that force or in that arena, somebody in your family might get something different. Other than that, I'm telling you, it's going to be rough.
Which I found that not to be true because a couple of, months ago, about 6 months ago, I interviewed the family of Candace Wigglesworth that was murdered back in 1992. Her brother, as well as her father, was a Prince George's County police. This young woman was murdered, opening her door. By somebody she knew. She opened her door and they shot her to death. She has yet to get justice. Yet to get justice after all these years. You can't even look her case up. She was a highly known, she was a hairstylist. She also was one of the singers for the all-girl go-go band Pleasure. And well known in the city and everything. And they never solved her case. Never solved her case. And that happened back in 1992. Brother and father were police officers, Prince George's County Police.
And it's horrible. It's horrible because I never knew this, Rose. I never was in this arena before. I didn't have a reason to really be involved with that. I heard my niece was killed when I had my 5th-year recovery. But I thought my brother had found her killed. He didn't. They kept it hush-hush in the family, what was going on. Some people just like that. So I thought her case was bizarre.
Right.
It wasn't. They never found a killer. And, but I thought they did. So I didn't. But when this happened to Marty, and I actually was involved in this, because I was more so like a liaison for my daughter, because my daughters lived in Charlotte. So everything was going on up here. I was working with her father, his father, and I was doing all the footwork, doing all the everything, and
right.
My daughter was doing the best she could from down there. She come up here and but she solved the case. She solved the case. And if she hadn't took the initiative to do what she did, we wouldn't have no answers. And I know what it's like to not have answers, and that's why I came up with that slogan, no answers, no peace. I had no peace. None.
Right.
It's only by God's grace that I didn't have a nervous breakdown. I did have a massive heart attack because this stuff builds up all the time. And I had a massive heart attack in November of last year. Massive heart attack. It's only by God's grace I didn't die. I have a stent in my
You know,
heart now.
tell the people that's
I
listening.
have to go through all this because this stuff wears and tears on you on the inside.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. You know, tell the folks about how it wears and tears on you.
It
You know,
used to wake me up out of my sleep at night. I would cry all night. I would go to work, Rose, and I would be doing my job, smiling, keeping the face forward, professional attitude and all that. And because I'm administrative based, so I got to do all the paperwork, communicate with the people, and be professional. I actually work for the COO, so I got to have it together. And they knew what I was going through, but you know what? People are not sensitive in the professional world. They're just not in the business sector. They're not. It's about you coming to work and doing your job. Just that simple. I hadn't been working there that long. They didn't even know me. Okay, so they had no kind of empathy that you would think people would have for you. I had no empathy there. It was just a couple of people would come to me and tap me on the shoulder, pull me in the corner with nobody looking and say, "I'm so sorry for you. How you doing?" But the rest of the time, everybody was looking at me like, expecting me to flick out or something. So I had to keep the professional face forward. And then at lunchtime, I would go out and sit in my car and I would make videotapes, talk about how I felt, what I was trying to do. But I would be crying like I don't know what. Then I pull myself together within that hour to go back in there and finish doing my job. That's how you have to live. I didn't have the option of saying, well, I'm going to take me a trip somewhere or I'm going to shut it down for a while until this stuff blow over. No, I still had to pay bills. I had to live, I had to eat, sleep, and have responsibilities and demands. So I still have that. But I did have my meetings and fellowshipping friends, that I was going to and crying on their shoulder. But I'm going to tell you something. Unless a person has been where you are, many people are not sensitive to this.
That's right.
They cannot even fathom, Rose, they can't fathom this feeling until after, because there's no words for some of these feelings that you have. There's no words.
Right.
And I didn't have a personal relationship with God, and I do, and prayed and leaned on God the whole entire time. He is the reason that I'm still here and standing strong. And so what I do with that, I use it to help others. And that's what we have to do. We got to help these people out here to have these murders, like Mr. Wood, that Rose came out and told his story about his son up there in Idaho. I think about that young man all the time. I think about Mr. Muse. I think about, because Mr. Muse has stood with me. He definitely did. And he has stood with me on those two little things that I had downtown. He came down there in the cold 15-degree weather, whatever was it cold.
Yeah.
There in front of the Department of Justice, and it was cold. It was below zero, and we stood down there talking about our cases. So unless you have actually been there, sometimes they're not sensitive to what we're going through, Rose. Rose, she has done so much. She had me on. She had a TV station she was trying to run, and I was hoping people would donate and help. It was very expensive, and to help her with it, because we don't have many people out here that come out and promote and tell them she don't discriminate. It's not about just Southeast, just Northeast, or just DC, or just Maryland. She would tell people from all over, y'all can call me when you want to come on. I will add your story, and stuff like that, and we need people like them to advocate for us as in public, that's in the light. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not known like that. We don't have the recognition. You understand? And we don't have like, I'm not Donna or whoever the movie stars are, there's something happened to them. You see, like Kobe, oh, the whole world, oh, Kobe, oh, Lord, oh, Kobe, his daughter, oh, and not that I'm saying it wasn't sad, but let me tell you something, a life, if it's your family life, your family's life is just as important. Regardless of whether you're a basketball player or you're a big star, life is valuable, no matter whose it is. And it shouldn't be based upon your stature.
That's right.
You're a human being, and that was a human being. And people losing their loved ones, man, you got to think about, what if it were me? How would I be? You know, and not just think of
Feel,
put your feet in those shoes, because it can be you. I would have never thought it would be me, but it was. I would never thought that my grandson, I would outlive my grandson. No, I would have never thought that. I watched him grow up to be grown.
this is a club that no one wants to be a part of. You know, this is one of those clubs no one wants to be a part of. No parent, no grandparent, no loved one wake up, you know, and send their child off in the world, not expecting for them not to never come back home. No, we don't do that. We don't do that.
I know these detectives and things would tell you, don't talk about your case. They didn't like me because I come out here talking. You know,
Right.
my prosecutors and them, they getting so they don't want to say nothing because they're like, you can't be going out there talking about that. You know what? Don't tell me. I the one took the loss. If you know what you're doing, you can be a Perry Mason. So get your laws and your stuff together and know how to present a case. But I'm gonna tell you something, the prosecutors are getting paid regardless of whether they win or lose. Or
That's
the
right.
public defenders are getting paid regardless of whether they win or lose.
Win or
Okay,
lose,
but I'm gonna tell you something about them public defenders. Some of them are better than the prosecutors, because prosecutors, you know what, they got so many cases on, they just want to hurry up and get it over with so they can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the sincerity. And my prosecutor got real upset with me, but I had to say it. When I told him, I said, I wonder what you would do if it was your child, or if they were, or Marty was white. He looked at me like he could have just tore my eyes out. I looked at him, I said, I'm gonna say it, sir. I said, because I really don't like the way you go at Marty's case with minimum concern. You know, he goes a little more at Kendra Smith's case because she was an honor student, and because, you know, her mother and she went to this college, and she was a member of this church, and they gave her all this accolades, and the church is behind her mother, and you know, they give her all this, you know. And Marty was troubled teen, you understand? And he was a black boy. Okay, so you know, he says to me, when he said something about her case, you know, I just listen to what people say. He said, you know, she was an honor student. She was, you know, and I looked at him and I said, so what that means? That, you know, she, not that I'm saying she don't deserve justice, but she deserve, you know, you give her more because of the honor student. See, that's how they put people in categories.
Right.
That's how the system look at people. You know, they stigmatize people, okay? I don't care what Marty did and what he wasn't and what he had to accomplish and whatever. He was a human being, right? He was a young man. He was working on getting himself together. He wasn't a menace to society. He was my grandson. He was my family. He was my blood, man. And they want to treat him with minimum. You understand what I'm saying? And we're supposed to settle for that. Because
right.
according to their statistics, that's all he deserved.
That's all. Yeah.
So you have to be an advocate for your own case. You know, many of these mothers are not coming out here standing up and fighting because they let them intimidate them to a point where they feel like they would get shut down, or they would get worse on their case, treatment on their case, than they would if they keep their mouth shut and just be cool and be patient and wait on them. And then at the end, like Tony Jacobs' mother, that got nothing from her son that was murdered. You see what I'm saying? At the end, what do you get? Okay, what do you get? Okay, what do you get? All right, I don't make no noise, I don't make no havoc. So, but then what do you get? That boy got something like 5 years, and 3 of them he had already done. They killed her son. They killed her son.
Yeah.
You understand? But I look at the other one. What's her name? That was Jolie's family. Fought like hell, but her aunt got big money. You understand? And she got high connections. Okay, so she got a little stuff with Janice, because that boy gonna do some hard time for killing her niece.
Yeah.
And the other one, that the mother, they found her down in Florida. You're saying they changed some laws out there behind her. You know, she was taking off the she was taking off a military base. You understand what I'm saying? That man took her off the military base. Okay, so the federal got behind that, and then her father's in the service. Okay, and then they got a little money. You know, so You know, and that's the way society treats us and our people. Everything is based on your statue and who you are. You see what I'm saying? And that's why you have to fight and say, I say, I don't care what they say, Marty is not worthy of. It's what I say Marty is worthy of. And I say he's worthy of full justice because of the heinous crime that was committed on him. Okay, and he didn't deserve it. He wasn't doing nothing wrong for it to happen. And he did.
That's right.
We don't need to have them kind of people on the street ever again, because that was just downright evil to shoot somebody that many times and then take them out there, throw them out there like they're a piece of trash, and then go on with their life, nothing, like they had done nothing wrong and nothing happened. And then to stand up in a courtroom and look at me like I'm trash. I dare you. I dare you. Okay? And these are the people that these people want to come and say misaccused or whatever, you know, you want to jump out there and whatever, George Floyd, okay, and whatever, and they went off about that. It was a heinous thing. I watched it. It was the worst thing I ever seen. However, all lives deserve the same kind of justice.
That's
okay?
right. And
because
the same
all of the lives were brutally taken, and something needs to change when it comes time to murder.
That's right.
And that's why I advocate for it, and that's why Rose, like, if we coming up, we just wait for this pandemic to go, because we will be standing. I will be getting up forget, and we will be standing. No answers, no peace. We'll be standing at Black Lives Matter, and we will be standing up for these murders again and again and again. I don't care if there's 5 people or 3 people coming down there. Me and Rose and Miss Angela and whoever wants to stand up for their loved ones down there about murders. If it just be us, then it's gonna just be us.
It's gonna go down.
Until the day that I die, I will fight for these laws to change.
That's right. That's right. Lord have mercy. You know, that's why, you know, I find it so important to, you know, tell these stories, because I want people to understand the fight. This fight for justice is never ending. You know, and you still don't get closure. You do everything, you know, you had to go as far as finding your grandson's car. Y'all located his car. Y'all basically solved the whole crime. Y'all brought the evidence to them. Y'all brought all of the evidence to them. You know, and
you know what my daughter said, she said, not only did I bring that case, but when they went into his apartment, searched his apartment, they found drugs and guns. So they got that case, and she said, I gave him another case to crack. You know, she said, I gave it to him because they wouldn't even been in there know that he was selling drugs like that, and then had all the illegal guns in his apartment.
It's so hard fighting these cases here. You know, a lot of them. Like I'm advocating for a case right now of 34-year-old Olga Oro. Okay. She was reported missing July the 19th, 2020. And 5 days later, 55-year-old Darnell Sterling was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. We haven't found her body yet. Mr. Keith Johnson, who went missing 3 days before Olga Oro back in July of 2020. We have not found him yet. Alisha Blood, missing 6 years. We haven't found her yet. Unique Harris, missing 10 years, going on 11 years. We have not found her yet. Someone was just arrested a month ago on, you know, her behalf. You know, it's just a lot of things, you know, that goes on, y'all. It's a lot of things. These families have to fight like hell for justice. Don't wait until you get into a situation like this. Nobody is exempt from this type of thing happening to you or your loved one. It happens on a daily basis all over this country. Families are fighting for justice of their murdered loved ones. They have to fight even harder. You would think that once they have found the person, charge them, and, you know, get them in court, you think that the fight for justice stops there? No, it does not. Ms. Cook has been, and her family has been fighting for justice for her grandson, 22 years old, shot 7 times, body left along Sugden Parkway and Forestville Road, to be found 9 months later by construction workers. She has been fighting for the past 4 years. They put a plea bargain on the table for this monster who murdered her grandson. Okay, this monster who murdered her grandson, they put a plea bargain on the table for him, okay, of 12 years. And this monster decided that he's not going to take the plea bargain. He's just going to go ahead and he's going to go to court. Which, if you look at a lot of these cases, y'all, they go to court because they know a lot of times they're going to get off, because a lot of times they do. They get off from these horrible, brutal murders just to be let out with a notch under their belt and a fucking arrogance out of this world just to do it again with no remorse for your loved one. So don't think that you or anyone is exempt from this type of thing happening, because we're not. I have experienced this thing. I have rode both sides of this fence. I have loved ones that I'm still fighting for justice. I have loved ones who have been murdered, who have, you know, the parole hearings of these monsters come up, and we have to fight. We have to fight even while they still in jail. When the parole hearings and stuff come up, we have to be present to make sure that these monsters never see the light of day. And a lot of times they do. I have a girlfriend, my best friend, like my sister. Okay, like I said, and I'm going to tell this story because this is a horrible story. You know, her mother murdered when she was 11 years old. Okay, the man responsible for her mother's murder, okay, they are considering letting this monster out. They considering letting him out because of the COVID-19 and because of this new stupid ass law that they have brought up to revisit some of these cases. So before you all know it, we're going to have these petty criminals in jail, these guys that then been locked up for the rest of their goddamn life for having a pound of weed or a bag of weed, a minor drug charge, someone that stole the coat, you know, receiving a life sentence. We're going to have those type of people in jail for the rest of their lives, and all of the murderers are going to be out on the street. Y'all need to start, don't wait until this type of thing happens to you to stand up and fight. I'm pretty sure everybody has had someone in their life that they have lost due to violence. Right now, we're at over 4,000 people being shot and killed in this country due to gun violence in this country right now, and we're just at the 2nd month. A lot of these cases don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. And these families never receive justice. So I want y'all to think about that. I want y'all to think about the story of Marty William McMillan Jr. and the story of Kendra Smith, who, by the way, it took her mother 14 years to get justice, and still have not received justice, but 14 years to make an arrest. Think about the families of all of the young women who were gunned down in the streets of Washington, D.C. last year. You know, we lost 29 of them. All of the other people, the young men who were gunned down in the streets that haven't, you know, gotten an arrest. Families haven't gotten an arrest and they're fighting. Families who have had arrests and they're still fighting. It's just so crazy. And these families go through this, and a lot of times these prosecutors are not, you know, fighting. They have a heavy caseload, and the first thing that they want to do is hurry up and close these cases. The same thing with our missing persons, you know. Yes, they have arrested, you know, the man who was responsible for taking the life of 34-year-old Olga Oro. But does her family have justice? Does her family truly have justice without having their loved one to lay to rest? The family of Unique Harris, they have just arrested someone like a month ago on a case that happened over 10 years ago. They have not found her body. Do you think that her family has justice? No. The fight is never ending. So stand up with us. Stand up with us. Don't wait until this type of thing happens to you. Don't think for 1 second. Don't think for 1 second that this type of thing cannot happen to you, because it can. This thing comes like a thief in the night. We don't send our loved ones, our children out into the world, you know. We don't send them out into the world not expecting for them to come back. This is a horrible thing that anybody can experience. Don't wait until it happens to you to stand up and fight. Okay? Please stand with us to fight for justice of the many families of the missing and murdered. We have over 26,000 unsolved murders in this country, with over 18,600 of them being Black people, unsolved. Understand that. Stand up. Don't let this type of thing happen to you. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Don't think for 1 damn second that it can't happen to you or someone that you love, because it can. It can. Okay? I want to thank Miss Cook. Thank you so much, Grandma, for coming out telling your story. You know, like I said, it is very important for these families to hear. And I want to encourage all families, any family that have a story of a missing and murdered loved one, please reach out, inbox me. You can tell your story on my platform. My platform is welcome. I will be, you know, doing my recordings from home right now until, you know, I'm back in the studio. I'm kind of like staying away from the studios right now due to this pandemic. Really can't have, you know, the in-studio visits, you know, interviews like I'd like to do. So I'm going to be inviting the families of the missing and murders, like I've always done, to speak and tell the stories, and stand with us. Stand with us in the fight for justice for our missing and murdered. Thank y'all so much for taking the time out to just sit in. Please share this live video. Like I said, any families that are interested in telling their story, please inbox me, or you can send me an email at blackrosegarden@gmail.com. Okay? Or you can give me a call at 240-815-2904. Okay? Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night and be safe, okay? Thank you.